Michelle.
Where do you live? Do you live on Gosling? So you live on the south side of Gosling? What's your question? Eventually, they're going to bring you out. And then it's going to be really nice. And you're going to get more like value. It's like procedures and stuff. So, like, it's like pre-race tickets. Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris. Chris, right here. So you think, yeah, but this isn't through the city, but the project is going to be through our city and we get federal money. I agree, but he was interested in getting
I would just call them directly and see what you're offering.
and I right. You can bring it up the mayor's office. And he wants to move this, but I don't have time to do this right now. Because afterwards you can come back and deal directly with the department. Are you going to be here until I will deal with the directors and marketing. Still okay. This project. It'll probably I read them all the time. You know, it's we'll get it. Sure, I'm going to start there.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out to the 6th District Mayor's Night Out. I want to thank in particular Mr. Greg Easton for letting us use the principal of Morton High School. Is he here right now? But even if he's not here, I want to thank Mr. Easton. He's doing a great job for letting us use Morton High School to host Mayor's Night Out. And I want to remind everybody that the next Mayor's Night Out is Wednesday, May 28th, and that's going to be in the 5th District, Morton Elementary School. So I'll remind you again at the end on that. I want to go ahead and get Mayor's Night Out started. And remind everybody, I know it's been a couple months since we've done it. Mayor's Night Out is driven by your questions. Please, we do written questions and then we just discuss the topic. Right now, my table is over here with Sharon. Sharon, could you raise your hand? If you have a question you want to ask, just please fill it out with Sharon. We ask that you put your name and address down there just so we can follow it up with you. If you're not comfortable doing that, that's fine as well. You could go anonymous as well. But if you do get your name and address down there, we will follow it up and say, hey, we're addressing your concerns, and this is what's going on. So anyway, let's go ahead and introduce the department head, starting with Phil.
Phil Talon, Planning and Development.
Jamie Romero, IT Department.
Carmen Paniagua, Human Housing.
Chris Sacaleras, Legal Aid.
Alexis Barber, United Neighborhoods Inc.
African Harbor Economic Development.
Kurt Cook, Building.
Miley Krasinski, Port Authority.
Mark Gordish, engineer.
Mark McLaughlin, Chief of Staff.
6th District, Chico Hinojosa.
John Doty, Hammond PD. Jeff Long, Hammond PD. Brian Powen, City Planning.
Deborah Malone, Environmental.
Jack Smith, Sewer Department.
Joe Medlitz, Public Works.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Leanne Munoz, College Bound.
Marty Wildis, Hammond Sanitary District.
Pat Moore, Park Department.
Jim Callahan, Inspections Department.
June Walker, Water Department.
Chris Cantor, Law Department.
Bob Letty, Controller's Office.
Michelle Torjani, Park Department.
Michelle is the Special Events Coordinator for the City of Hammond. I'd like to remind everybody we do a live weekly radio show on WJOB that's run a lot like Mayor's Night. Michelle is on the radio with me every Friday morning, 7:35 a.m. If you like Mayor's Night, it's a shorter, condensed version of Mayor's Night. So I'd like to introduce your 6th District Councilman, Chico Hinojosa.
Good evening, everybody. I know it's a little warm in here, or is it me? Or maybe I'm thinking summer and I'm trying to get rid of this winter here, hopefully. But I'd like to come up with a couple things here. I just noticed maybe a week ago, there was some graffiti over on the wall on 165th by Klein Avenue. I know it's painted white and somebody put graffiti, but graffiti removal was there the next Monday right after that, and they removed it right away. I don't know if there's been any more, or if the person from the judge's office for graffiti removal is here. But if you see graffiti removal, they're very good about removing it right away, and that number is 853-6410. Another problem we've been having here in the 6th District, of course, is the trains, blocking. I know the last council meeting and the one before that, I did ask that we send a letter to the engineer department to send a letter to those train companies. I know they're billionaires and they don't really care probably. I know at one time they did stop the trains and they were holding back past Grand Avenue, east of Grand Avenue, but somehow that just goes down the drain. But that needs to be. But that number, if you a good number to have on your cell phone is 853-6490. That's a non-emergency number for the police department. If you see the trains blocking, call up. The more calls you get and the more complaints they get, the more fines they get, and hopefully they can do something. Also, summer's coming up, believe it or not. And of course, it's time for the weeds and the litter, empty lots, people that don't clean up their lots, and the weeds grow real tall. And of course, that number to call is the code enforcement, 853-6447. And of course, when you call, of course, it doesn't get done the next day or the next week. When it's private property like that, you have to get a court order, and I'm sure that takes a while, at least 15 days before the city can cut it down. So have a little patience on that. And of course, lighting is always an issue. There's always telephone poles that are out. And of course, you can either call me or you can call the engineering department at 853-6336 and report the pole number and the address where it's at so it can be taken care of. I've also asked that I sent a letter to the park department through the Board of Public Works that new swings be installed over here at No Name, I'll call it No Name Park, which is right here by the Casey Hall, Klein Avenue and 173rd. Hopefully we can put some additional swings there. There really isn't that much money, to spend like in the years when we first started, but we can do as much as we can and maybe patch up some sidewalks and some asphalt. And I'll be around here to answer any questions, and thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce and thank the elected officials in attendance today, so if you don't mind. First off, Councilwoman at Large Janet Venez. Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. Of course, 6th District Councilman Chico Hinojosa. The Council President, Michael Pinker. And also School Board Trustee Marilyn Jones. Did I miss anybody? I did a quick scan of the room. All right. I'd also, Councilman Hinojosa talked a little bit about graffiti. I want to remind you, and I appreciate Councilman Hinojosa calling in to 6410. I'd also like to remind you, for those with the smartphone, that we have an app on your smartphone called Hammond 311. It's a free download, and it gets you literally connected to the department of the problem. It's Hammond 311. You can download it for free. And if you had a situation where you had graffiti, your smartphone has GPS in it, and you can take a picture of the graffiti, and you send it to Hammond 311, and it would go right to graffiti removal. They would know exactly, using GPS, where that graffiti tag is, and they would know what it looks like, obvious, because you took a picture of it, and we'd be able to respond a lot quicker. You would get an email saying that the complaint was received. You would get an email from us saying we acknowledged it, we're working on it, and you would get a picture at the end of the day that said it's been cleaned up, and this is what it looks like now. Hammond 311. We've had it. We monitor. In fact, Jamie, could you talk a little bit about that also? I know we've been monitoring new starts. Do you mind addressing that a little bit? And I usually miss something when I'm talking about technology. So.
Well, basically, it's a app that you can use to report like potholes and things like that you see around the city. You can actually take pictures and send them in and explain what the problem is. And one of our departments will get, whatever department it belongs to, will get that. And other people can follow and keep up with the status on whatever problem it may be. So
you guys are sort of the masters over the whole thing. I mean, you see every complaint come in, right?
Pretty much.
What's in your opinion? I know snow removal caught us off guard. A lot of people complained about that. And it's
right.
Obviously a pain in the butt, but it's more of a temporary type of thing. But we took the complaints nonetheless. What do you see most of the complaints?
Mostly it's graffiti.
Graffiti.
Yeah, and things
Right.
like that.
Sometimes codes. I know I've been using
garbage stuff, things like that.
They also have, one of the things I like is I have a user, whatever they call it, a username on there, the mayor, whatever it is. And if I send it in, I have a feeling people are going to take care of it. So sometimes I like to send it in anonymously to test them, and it works both ways. And I want you to know you do have the ability to send us complaints anonymously on this app, and I think that's a good thing, because sometimes maybe you don't want the person knowing that it was the mayor complaining about a situation or yourself complaining about a situation. So it gives you that ability to go anonymous as well, and you get the same response. I've tested it both ways, okay? I think it's really neat. It works on your smartphone, works on your iPad, works on your Android, and also works through the Go Hammond website, right, Jamie?
Right.
Okay. Anything I missed?
No, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it. All right, so I wanted to start off. I appreciate the councilman for reminding me about that. Next, I'd like to call forward Hammond Fire's Chief, Jeff Smith. We're going to do a presentation here. Jeff, could you come forward, Chief Smith?
Back on March 26th, we had a fire over here in Heskalon, Arizona, 7047 Arizona. The fire was reported by a neighbor. The gentleman is Mr. John Tomzak, and he is here tonight. He was sitting at home, watching TV, getting ready to go to work, and he heard some screaming, which he thought at the time were raccoons, I think you told me, John? He thought it was some raccoons fighting in the alley, so he got up and had gone to the back window, looked outside, didn't hear anything, and he kept hearing it, so he went to the front, and he could see his neighbor. You saw the neighbor? The smoke. He saw the smoke and threw his shoes on as he was running across the street. He was dialing 911. Got to the house. He saw the gentleman of the house was on the back porch trying to get back in the house. Mr. Tomzak was a little reluctant to kick in the door because he's had a little bit of fire training and he was worried about a backdraft. He ended up kicking the door in because the gentleman informed him that his wife was still in the house. She was unable to get out. He screamed to her to go to the window. Mr. Tomzak ran around to the side of the house and pulled the lady out of the house, ultimately saving her life. Something he didn't know that morning was the guys that were on working that day, they were en route to the scene. The first arriving engine company was there within 3 or 4 minutes. The next rig coming in got trained by the subway at 69th in Arizona. They were delayed getting there. Had Mr. Tomzak not been there and heard this, it would have been a totally different outcome. So on behalf of the city and the fire department, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Tomzak on the job. Well done.
Hold on. Mr. Tomzak, I wanted to read off, that's a presentation from the Hammond Fire Department. I wanted to read off to you a special award that's only given out every once in a while, okay? First off, what time in the morning did this take place?
10, 15.
Got a good job, huh? All right, I'm just messing. Nice. Mr. Tomzak, the key to the city is the highest honor a mayor can bestow upon any individual or organization. As such, I am honored to present to you with the key to the city and to express the appreciation of all Hammond residents for your commitment to making Hammond a better place to live and to raise a family. You displayed courage and bravery and your willingness to come to the aid of your neighbors, rescuing her from their burning home. Your actions were true. Is hereby presented to John Tomzak Jr. in grateful appreciation of your heroism in saving your neighbor from her burning home. Thank you for helping making Hammond a safer place to work and to live. Congratulations, Mr. Tomzak.
Competition. It's a good thing.
One more, please.
Not at home.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tomzak.
Thank you, Mr.
Congratulations,
Renner.
sir.
Appreciate it. Anytime.
One more time for Mr. Tomzak. Oh, hey, Mr. Tomzak.
Yes, sir. Oh,
Take that.
thank you. You can use it to make a paper airplane.
And to Mr. Tomzak's family, thank you for coming out. It's a great honor. Congratulations. All right. Got a lot of stuff we're covering here. I know we have a lot of questions, so why don't we go ahead and jump into that? And again, I want to remind you, no pressure, but the Blackhawks are they're dropping pucks tonight. You know, it's an important game, but hey, we could do this all night if you want. So, yeah. Michelle.
First question is, when can we expect Kennedy Avenue to be repaved?
Great question. I'd like to introduce a gentleman that lives in Hessville. He also happens to be our assistant city engineer, Mark Orders. Mark, I think you're going to have some pretty good news for the residents of Hessville in this regard. Yes. Kennedy.
Hello? Actually, that is a good question. It's bad. It is going to be constructed this summer. It's going out for bid in May, and hopefully by mid-June we should see some construction on it. It's going from 74th all the way to 169th Street. Some curbs, new sewer, pressed asphalt, new trees, tree wells, so everything's going to be taken care of. So
good news. So it's going to go out in June. It's going to be from 69th all the way to the highway, basically.
That's correct.
And we knew this was part of our jobs bill, if I remember correctly, that was approved by the Hammond City Council. This is one of the jobs that was in the jobs bill. At the time, we came up with a pretty significant amount of Hammond money, and the good thing about that deal is we matched a lot of federal money. So this was part of our jobs bill. It didn't go down in the first phase. It's going down now, thankfully, because I drive that stretch every single day, just like many people in this room do, and it's bad. And it's going to be a lot better very soon. So I'm glad that, again, I want to appreciate my thanks to the Hammond City Council. Do you have a follow-up on that? That's always our goal. That's always our goal. In fact, we're usually really good at that goal. The question was for those on TV. That's the reason Michelle runs around with the microphone, is more for the TV. We could hear. But the question was, is it going to be done by winter? Always our goal. We never want to keep a job open through the winter. We had to keep the 169th open just east of Calumet, or more east of Columbia, but that was open all winter, and that's not an ideal situation. It's always our goal to finish by then. Okay? Any other questions on that?
Could I respond?
Sure. Sorry, Mark.
Actually, it will be under traffic for the winter. Since it's 80% federal dollars, it's being bid through the state. So sometimes the state is slow, and that's why it's being bid a little bit later than we would anticipate. So it should be under traffic and ready to go for the winter. There might be some trees to be planted and some minor details to be done.
Gotcha.
the visual stuff may not be.
Right.
Right, okay.
But it's going to be open to traffic.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Any other questions about this? Yeah,
Is Indy and Kennedy going to be under construction at the same time?
Indianapolis Boulevard,
Indianapolis
that
Boulevard.
should be wrapping up midsummer.
Okay.
and we're talking, on the boulevard, we're talking north of 169th, which is under construction, and we're talking south of 169th, and I know that doesn't make you feel any better, but we try not to have the same
Okay.
north-south stretches under construction at the same time. So north of 169th on the boulevard is under construction. It's construction zone right now. We're talking 69th to the highway on Kennedy. So
Just let me, about Indianapolis Boulevard, we had to replace 170 feet of sewer that was found to be in really bad shape. We couldn't line it, so we decided it was pretty much cost effective just to replace it, and that's what's being done now. If it was going to be lined, it would have only taken a day and a half, where it's taking a little bit longer. But for the price, it's only $10,000 more for the new sewer.
all right, thanks. Yeah.
I was wondering, is it going to go, I'm sorry, is it going to go to just the limit of 169th or past it to the tracks?
169th Street,
That's going to be the end of it?
end
It's
of
not-
it. And we're looking at northern part of that
Yes, sir.
to 65th in the future for federal dollars.
Because the tracks are, from 169th to the tracks is pretty bad also.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
It's getting bad, yes, and we're going to apply for federal dollars.
all right, sir, thank
that.
you for your help.
Sure.
Okay, that's how it's done. We appreciate it. We got one question down, many more to go. Let's start plowing through them.
Will free tuition for longtime residents' children continue?
Oh, college bound. That's a good question. There's a proposal. I don't see a reporter in here, but if there was here, I would have the same answer nonetheless. We have a proposal that we're going to present to the Hammond City Council, and it's going through the motions at this point. You should hear more about this topic Monday, very soon. The proposal is, are we going to extend college bound another 10 years, another 20 years, or are we going to extend it at all? There's a proposal that's presented to the Hammond City Council, and it'll be debated in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Shouldn't be a shock to anybody. We did numerous community meetings on the topic. I personally love the program. I believe in it. I know hundreds and hundreds of families that are taking advantage of the program. I think it stabilizes our housing market and helps educate our children. I mean, I obviously love the program, but we have to go through a process, and I hopefully don't anticipate too many problems, but we have to go through a process. So you will hear more about this very soon. So thank you. Any other follow-ups on the college bound question? Okay, I'd like to recognize and appreciate 3rd District Councilman Anthony Higgs for coming out tonight. Thank you very much, Councilman. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in.
Councilman Hinojosa mentioned no money for swings at the park. What happens to all casino money? How is that spent?
I think Councilman said that he was spending money on swings at a park. Yeah, so, I mean, well, so let's just take the question. I think that's a good thing when a councilman's investing money into parks. I think that's great. But the question was, what's going on with the gaming revenue? Nothing has changed in how the gaming revenue is split. It goes 10% to each councilmatic district and 30% to the mayor. We leave 10% left over. We used to use it for federal matches, then we used it for college bound. Now it's used more for federal matches again. But the bottom line is, it's the size of the pie that's shrinking. And that means we're getting less revenue than we used to get because people aren't gambling as much. I imagine a lot of that has to do with the tough economy we're facing and the fact that the casinos are under a tremendous amount of competition now. They opened a casino up by O'Hare, the Rivers. Never been to it, but I know it's the neighborhood surrounding it's pretty spectacular. We used to think before they opened that casino that we had such a good product here in Hammond with the Horseshoe that anything not on the south side of Chicago couldn't touch us. And when they opened that casino on the north side of Chicago, it touched us. It touched us in a bad way. It literally, we lost millions of dollars of revenue to our city. And obviously with the combination of the economy and people not gambling as much, plus the fact that there's more competition, I think what we have to get used to in Hammond is this gaming revenue. We saw a peak in 2008, 2009, 2010, and ever since then it's been shrinking. And I don't know if it's ever going to get back to where it was. And because there's going to be even more competition. Chicago right now is talking about opening more gaming boats in Illinois. And obviously Chicago wants one.
downtown, which would be a big one. It literally would rival Horseshoe, and in fact, maybe even bigger than Horseshoe. The south side's going to get one, and that'll hurt. Trust me. That's where our gamblers come from, the south side of Chicago. They're trying to hurt us. They're trying to cripple us, and we're just sort of watching. So what we have to do over here in government is get ready for that day when the gaming revenue starts to drop. And when it starts to drop, I don't want you to notice the difference in Hammond. We don't want you to say, oh, suddenly we have to lay off a whole bunch of people and we have to change the way we do business because gaming revenue is not there. That is exactly what I am, as mayor, trying to avoid. And it's hard because everybody wants a piece of the pie, and there's not enough pie to go around anymore. So it seems like sometimes I'm heartless, and it seems like sometimes I don't care about what I'm hearing from employees, but I'm doing it for you because that day's coming when that gaming revenue is going to go away, or it's not going to be anywhere near what it used to be, and when it happens, we still have to provide services. So I think that's a pretty fair summation of what's gone on with gaming and what's going on with gaming. And I pay attention very closely to the Illinois legislature and to Governor Quinn, who is literally, I wouldn't be comfortable saying this publicly, but he's standing up to Chicago's mayor. And that's not very common to see a governor and a mayor of the same party fighting with each other. And it's Hammond. Let's just keep it going, guys. So just keep it going. So. Anybody have any follow-ups on gaming? Okay.
This is more of a comment that there is a large pothole on New Hampshire 6900 block near 169th.
Jim? I will definitely. What's the address again on that?
6900 block, New Hampshire.
Okay. One of the good things about the way we do business, we consolidated 4 departments into one called the Department of Public Works. And one of the things we did when we created that was we created efficiencies. We took 4 levels of management, converged it into one. And one of the things I really like about our new system is we have district captains. And Jim happens to be your district captain. And what we did is Jim is literally responsible for 4 departments worth of work in the 6th district. So if there's a pothole, Jim's got it. If it's a garbage issue, Jim's got it. If it's a recycling issue, Jim's got it. If it's a park issue, Jim's got it. That's the nice thing about the system is there's accountability. So we all know, and I know the councilmen like it because the councilmen also develop relationships with the district captains, and it works. And it's worked very well. And despite what a lot of people think about the snow removal during this winter, having responsibility like that, I think really helped us out a lot. And we're learning, and we're getting better, and it's costing you less money. So, Jim, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything on that. You are the 6th district representative. And one of the things... one of the things we wanted to do is make sure every time we have mayor's night that the 6th district, that district individual is there so that they could hear from the residents of that district their complaints and stuff like that. So, Jim, you want to add anything to that?
Well, be looked into first thing in the morning.
And Jim's been with the city how long?
33 years.
33 years. All right, he's a great guy, great worker. For him, for anybody that took one of these 6 district positions, it's a huge honor. And he's done a great job. That's why he got promoted. So, you wanted to add anything to that, Jim? He's a man of few words. Thanks. Yeah.
I live in South Hammond, right off River Drive, and I was really happy with snow removal.
It was not an easy
Very
winter.
happy.
I know if Gary was here, he could recite for you off the top of his head how many inches fell this year because I was constantly.
I was amazed.
It was. Jim, do you know? Anybody? Any weathermen over here? It was like the 2nd worst winter on record. Something crazy like 3rd? 3rd. And we still got time left to break the record, so let's just keep our fingers crossed. So anyway, this new system works really well, saves you money, provides more accountability. So if you have an issue, you know who to get a hold of. Of course, Jim, you could call the mayor's office. I'm sure the councilman takes complaints as well, but I think it's going to work a lot better for everybody involved. So anyway, the council helped us pass that as well. I like to give credit where credit is due. All these concepts we come up with without the council support would never even happen. So I want to thank them as well. All right.
Since we haven't received our 2014 tax bill in the mail yet, are they going to extend May 12th deadline?
Bobby Lundy?
No, they're not. The county just informed me about a week ago that the May 12th deadline is still going to hold. The county treasurer and the assessor.
Let's make something clear though, Bob. The county runs.
Yes, the county.
The
city
county,
doesn't
not the
collect
city.
your taxes. Just so if you don't know.
So if you're frustrated, don't blame us. We're
Yeah, the
just the
county.
messenger.
The county collects taxes on all of our behalf. So the county collects taxes for the city of Hammond, School City, the libraries, the redevelopment district. They bill it, they collect it, and then they distribute it to us proportionally. So on the county's website at lakecountyIN.gov, you can go there. You can pull up your tax bill by your address or by your name. You can see what your tax bill is, and then they also give you a list of the locations where you're able to pay your taxes. It's any of the county locations, and then there's several dozen banks and even a couple of grocery stores throughout the area that will accept your tax payments.
The bill to us before the 12th?
I don't know, since the city
doesn't
itself,
make
the
sense.
civil city, isn't in charge of,
I'm not blaming you,
assessing
sir.
or
I'm
billing.
blaming them for
Yeah.
putting up almost an impossible
No,
thing
the
to happen.
only information that I have is what I just disseminated. So
Okay.
if I get any further information, I'll see if I can get it to the mayor to get out
But
on
see,
his radio.
not
show.
all of us have access to computers or, and things of that nature. So when you don't have a computer or cell phone or whatever, you have to rely on the mail. And if they haven't even got it in the mail yet, that's not leaving much leeway.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your help.
All right. Well, while Bobby's standing, I'm sad to inform you that this is going to be Bobby Lindy's last mayor's night. No, I'm not planning on firing Bobby after mayor's night's over. Bobby was stolen from us by a firm that literally is changing his life. He's a super talented guy. He's been with the city since I started with you. He rose through the ranks and became our city controller. He's done an excellent job. He knows the city backwards and forwards. When he tells me a guy like that's leaving your administration, of course you're sad, and then you wonder how you're going to continue forward. But I want to tell you that I wanted to recognize Bobby specifically for a job well done, and we're going to miss you, Bob. You've done a great job for the city. Let's give him a big round of applause. I know some employees are going to be very happy to see him leave, though. We won't talk about that. But Bob has done a spectacular job. It's literally going to be hard to imagine him not being our city controller. So thank you. Thanks again, Bob. Okay.
For those folks who are looking for computers that don't have one at home, the Hammond Public Library just had a whole new set of computers put in. We have
Great.
people here to help you. So if you have any questions about your tax bills, go to the library over at on State.
On Sibley or State? Technically 564 State Street, but go to
Bumble.
Sibley and Seoul. I get confused. I know how to get there. I just don't know the address. And I'm a trustee. So, what can I tell you? But yeah, just go over to the Hammond Public Library. They'll help you look up your tax bill, and then they'll also help you find out where you need to go pay it at.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Are there any concerns with our drinking water since the BP oil spill?
That's a great question. That's a great question. No. Okay, I asked the same thing on the day of the spill. All right. Where we withdraw water, June, do you know off the top of your head? It's ridiculously deeper than the spill. I want to say 30 feet deep, 40 feet deep. 18 feet deep. Thank you, Mylan. What am I talking about? Port Authority knows this. 18 feet deep. And the surface, first off, in the overall scheme of things, any spill is a bad spill. I'm not trying to minimize the size of the spill, but in the overall scheme of things, it was a small spill. And no, it was no BPA, go.
It was some oil and non-contact cooling water that was released to the lake, Mayor.
But,
and this was probably over 2 miles also from
Right.
where the release took
And
place.
the way the wind was blowing, BP was really saved in that regard. Instead of the water spreading out into the lake, it stayed against the shore.
Yes.
And they put the booms out and kept it pretty contained.
They took care of that.
But there is no such thing as a bad question. I was always told that. I believe in that philosophy. I asked the same exact thing the day after the spill. Okay? So thank you for asking that question. I don't know who did, but that is a very good question. Because if it was a bad question for you, that means it was a bad question for me as well. So does anybody have any follow-up on that? Yes, sir.
Are there any filters right there at the source where the water comes in?
Well, the water comes in. It goes through a tremendous amount of filters before it reaches you. Okay?
I understand that, but at the source, if there's ever a spill and it goes the other way, is there a filter there?
I don't know, but because I'm not an engineer and I didn't design the tube,
Okay.
but I can tell you that it's so deep that the oil stays on the top of the water.
and we're drawing 18 feet down. It would have to be millions and millions of gallons. Obviously, that would be a disaster, and we would be affected. But this spill, even if it got out, was so on the surface that it was nowhere near where we pull our water from.
Gotcha.
One of the big problems we have, and I know this from being a mayor for 11 years, is during winter, they call it fragile ice. This is a crazy thing mayors learn, and it literally is like a straw that you're sipping through, and it just freezes up at the end, and you can't pull in anymore. And when that happens, we got issues. That's when we start relying more on the tanks that we have spread around our service territory. That's the biggest problem we have is it gets too cold and it starts icing up. It's like a straw at the end that gets frozen. That's our biggest issue. I've never really had that's a good question. I'm sure if Ed was here. June, do you know the answer to that? Do we have a filter that prevents oil? Mylan?
But there isn't a filter that prevents it.
Because
but once it gets to the plant, it goes through a lot of different
Absolutely.
filtering and charcoals and all sorts of other processes.
Right.
So yeah.
But I don't think oil, even
Nothing-
the Exxon Valdez
yeah,
or the Gulf
yeah.
oil spill, I don't know if it went 18 feet deep.
No, I don't think it did.
It would be mostly just a massive spill that stays on the surface kind of thing. So, good question. Any other questions on this? All right, let's keep on rolling.
Okay, this is a comment. Have standing water 2 doors from my house. It is up to the curb and sometimes over a mulberry tree on a basement behind, and they gave the address, but it's on Nebraska, 6800 block of Nebraska.
Mark?
Could you read that again? Where it's on 6800 Nebraska?
6800 block of Nebraska. Standing water 2 doors from my house. It is up to the curb and sometimes over a mulberry tree.
Okay, we're definitely going to have to look at that. There could be issues with the sewer being blocked up, or 6800 block of Nebraska, I believe. Okay, I'm visualizing where that's at.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't you come up after the meeting's over? Is this your question, sir? Yeah. Okay.
First off, the fence at McDonald's on 169th Street is all real bad shape. It's all, it needs to be replaced, okay? And I wrote on the complaint sheet here the hotline number for the complaint. That lady, she just doesn't take care of her property. They have the house right behind was abandoned for about 4 or 5 years, and the guy fixed it all up and he cleaned it all up and he did a real nice job on it. He's got somebody living there now, but there's a mulberry tree right in the easement, and what I'm asking is that the city's responsibility to remove a tree that's in an easement, or is that the property owner's
I'm looking around for code enforcement. Doesn't appear that code enforcement's here today. So I'm going to pass it down to Jim. It's definitely the city's responsibility if they're not maintaining their property, sir. I had a problem with a fast food joint in another part of the town, and it was deplorable how they kept their property. And once they started getting visits from the city of Hammond, they cleaned up their property. Jim?
If you see me after the meeting, give me the exact address.
It's the McDonald's on 69th.
Pardon me?
The McDonald's on 69th, right?
Yeah, right behind McDonald's on 169th.
Right.
There's a mulberry tree there, and the other, what I was talking about with the standing water was on 6828 Nevada Court, and I live there, and there's standing water, been there for years, and it's already going up over the curb with the rain, and we're going to have mosquitoes, and I guess you guys paved that some years back, but it's the same problem once again. And I know it's not on the hit list, at least I went and checked on it, but something's got to be done because there's a lot of little kids running around in the neighborhood, and mosquitoes and standing water really isn't a good thing. So I know you got only X amount of money to spend, but
no, this is our job.
It's a bad,
we'll follow it up.
Situation over there.
I promise you. Did you wrote down your name and address on there, sir?
But it got, my address is there. I'm sorry.
Okay. I promise you, we'll follow it up. Jim, could you make sure Kelly and code enforcement gets word that we have a problem with the cleanliness?
Yeah, he's on vacation, but I'll have somebody look at it tomorrow.
Let me make a comment there, Mayor. 6800 block of Nebraska, I believe that's an area that has had problems with the sinking. If people are familiar with the Hessville area, with the curb sinking and so forth, where there's bad soil, old dump years ago. So we could definitely take a look at that and work with the councilman and the mayor's office to see what we can come up with in the future.
Thanks, Mark. I'm just curious, how far did that dump go back in the day? You guys know?
Actually, I grew up in Hessville, so
Yeah.
do you want me to?
No, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Actually, through my wife's uncle, great uncle, he was telling me a story where it wasn't a real dump. It was like a dune and swale out in this area. And what they used to do is dump a lot of material. So when they built the area up, say Nevada, Nebraska area, they just plowed it in. And even my father's house has material underneath it, tires and so forth. And when we did Nevada Street, we were digging up old newspapers and so forth, and from the 1950s, bundles of newspapers. So back then, and in the 60s, that's when the houses were built in that area by Miller School, if you guys recall that. So there is swales of dump material there, and that's why it's settling.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for the question, sir.
I was just saying that, yeah, you're right about the sidewalks and the driveways over by Miller School were all in bad shape too. The homeowners have fixed pretty much all of them over there, but I got my neighbor next door to me, his house is sinking pretty bad too. I don't know if anything could be done about that, but I don't know, whatever.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll follow up your questions and get back to you. Thank you. Sure. Michelle?
Do people in Hammond or Hessville clean their drains once we've had the snow melting and the rain with all of these? Do they at least go out to the front of their house and clean it up?
Why don't we, I'll pass over to the sewer department here, and I'll let,
Okay,
the question was, are we doing what we can to help the drainage situation? Jack, I know you see a lot of it. Could you grab a microphone so you get it on TV? Jack Smith's been with the sewer department for how long?
20 years.
20 years, Hessville resident?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you give like a public service announcement so people understand how they can help you?
Okay, we got about 11,000 structures that are in the city of Hammond. What our crews do on rain days, they drive up and down the streets to let the water down. If they come across a structure that's dirty, that's not a priority. We don't want the standing water left on the streets.
Right.
But I mean, then that's when the public works will come into effect, street sweeping. They come through and they clean up the structures.
The street sweepers do an excellent job in Hammond. That is one thing I'm very proud of my guys. Oh, well, they're not just mine, they're everybody's. But
Sorry, you pay them.
But, you know, I mean, it's just common sense with people. They don't go out in front of their house or down two houses, and if they see a drain with a bunch of leaves, can't they just take a rake and watch the water go down? Because I do that. I man 5 drains by my house, all the way up McCook Street. And I'm a handicapped person now, but I do it because I don't want no damn water standing in front of my house, up to the curb, over in a mulberry tree.
Well,
it's coming from somewhere, and it's got to
appreciate
be able to drain off. So please, people, take care of our areas.
Awesome. Thank you.
God
I appreciate
bless
it. Okay. All right, I'm going to do a commercial break real quick. I want to introduce again, for the first mayor's night, I got a brand new police chief and I got a brand new deputy police chief. I'd like to introduce, first off, I'm going to introduce deputy chief, and we'll give him a big round of applause, and I'm going to introduce the police chief. He's going to tease you with something he's working on right now. I think Hammond residents are going to like it. First off, from Hessville, he's a great guy. He's a great police officer. He was the captain of the patrol for a very long time. I want to thank and congratulate Assistant Chief Jeff Long. And our newest police chief, who was under Brian Miller as Assistant Chief of Police for 10.5 years. He's a great guy, great Hammond guy, grew up and lived in Hammond his whole life. He's going to be a great police chief. You're going to grow to love him. John Doty. Congratulations, Chief Doty.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? One of the things we wanted to do, Jeff, I, and my staff, when we took over, as always, you want to take what you've been handed and you want to do better with it than when it was given to you. Brian Miller had that vision when he took over, and he did succeed, of course, as we know. He did succeed in that mission to do better at the end of his tenure with the situation he had that he was given. We want to do the same thing. One of the things we've been looking at is how can we make Hammond in general a better, safer place to live. There are a lot of ways to look at that, and we found two very glaring ones, and we looked within our own department and our own units and basically our subunits and looked at things they were doing that were great things, and they made great impacts. One's our traffic division, run by Lieutenant Pat Ficari. He's been in charge of traffic first as a sergeant and then lieutenant for approximately 10 years. Through aggressive enforcement of traffic laws and city ordinance, both state and city, we have significantly, just like our crime rate in other areas, we've reduced the number of accidents and fatalities over the last 10 years in the city of Hammond, despite a rise in traffic, which I think anybody here, you drive to work now, it's not like it was 10 years ago. We have a lot of cross traffic here. We have a lot of people commuting to Chicago. A lot of people come here and park at the South Shore. A lot of people are just passing through to go city to city. And then we have the residency here as well, moving around through our city streets. And there's quite a traffic flow nowadays, more so than there was when I was growing up, for sure. So despite those odds, they've done something significant. Then you look at our gang unit. They're a very aggressive unit. They're larger now than they've ever been. They're out stopping cars in designated crime areas all over the city, no specific area. Wherever the crime is, they go. They go out, and usually when they stop a car, it's through traffic enforcement. Once they stop a car through traffic enforcement, if they detect that there may be a criminal element involved in that vehicle, or that vehicle might be used in a crime, they take further investigative action within the guidelines of the law. We want to extend that to the entire patrol division, to community affairs, and we're going to call it a contact protocol. We're going to give our guys a minimum standard for making contacts where they are more progressive and more aggressive. An example might be in Hessville during midnight shift. We're having some car thefts, okay? When you're patrolling in Hessville, we just don't want you driving around and saying maybe that car was stolen or not. If that car is exceeding the speed limit, we want you to stop that car, take enforcement action if it's appropriate, and determine what's going on with this guy at 3 o'clock in the morning coming out of one of our alleys, not just let him go by. If you're on Forest Avenue, any part of the city, it matters. And for example, we're getting a few more burglaries over there than normal. Then we want to pay attention to the traffic in that neighborhood. We want to find a legal reason to stop that traffic and try to deter crime. Find out who's in that car. Is it the guy that lives down the street? Is he okay? Is he supposed to be there? Is he going to work early at the mill? Well, that's okay. He was speeding a little bit. Give him a warning. Tell him not to speed in his neighborhood. You know, he needs to do a little better to protect his own neighborhood by not driving through it so fast, and get him on his way and get him to work. But if he doesn't belong there and he's speeding, let's give him a ticket. Let's find out why he's there. Why is he in our neighborhood? If he doesn't belong here, let's figure this out. So we're going to figure out a minimum standard. We're not going to get our guys out there aggressive with a quota, but we will have some minimum standards. We want you to see positive improvement, a reduction in crime, but we want you to know the officers will always have the levity to give you a warning, to give you a talking to and let you go. That's not something we're going to mandate on them. But when the situation is right, they will be taking enforcement action on people, because we need to stop people speeding from our streets. I want my kids here. I have a 7-year-old at home, and I want him to be safe when he's playing out on the street. If he's crossing the alley, I don't want anybody coming out of the alley 30, 40 miles an hour. I want to know one of my officers is out there willing to do what needs to be done to stop that guy, give him a ticket, whether he lives here or not. Because if you're driving like that, citizen or not, 30, 40 miles an hour in an alley, you deserve a ticket. Speed limit's 10. So there are times, obviously, citizens could be affected, but this is a plan. We're just putting it together, but this is what we want to offer you. It's succeeded in many of our subunits, and we're going to do it department-wide. And as the mayor stated, I think you will see results, and I think you will embrace the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Doty. I want to reiterate a couple points he made. There is not a quota on the number of tickets to be given out. This is an increase in contacts. So if you are inconvenienced because you were going 40 and a 35 and you got pulled over by a Hammond police officer and everything is fine, you're just going 40 and a 35, They're not going to give you a ticket. But you know what? Sometimes if you pull somebody over for going 40 and a 35, sometimes they have warrants outstanding. Or sometimes they have drugs in the car. Or sometimes they have a weapon in the car that they shouldn't have had. Or maybe they're stolen goods that they took from one of our homes. And we're going to accidentally stumble upon a criminal and take care of him. So I want to point out that we've done a great job in our Hammond Police Department, and it's hard for a new chief, and I respect the fact that John comes in with a plan, because filling in for Brian Miller is not an easy thing, because Brian did such a great job. John comes in, John has a plan, I'm buying into it. I think the more contacts our police officers make with Hammond residents and people traveling through our city, I think the safer our city is going to be. And I'm not worried. I don't break the law. I don't think most Hammond residents are worried, because you don't break the law. I may drive a little fast, and I may get pulled over, and the police officer is going to say, Mayor, please don't drive so fast, you know? And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, officer, and I'm going to go on my way. But sometimes they're going to pull over a bad guy unintentionally, because they were going 40 and a 35. They're going to find out that bad guy has stolen equipment or he's got warrants, and we're going to arrest that guy on the spot. And he's not going to be able to do harm to our city. So I appreciate the fact that this new team comes in and they have a plan. And I'd like to point out that, you know, we talked, Chief Doty talked about 2 great police officers. He talked about Captain Jeff Long, now Assistant Chief Jeff Long, Hessville, and also Pat Vicari, who is Lieutenant Pat Vicari, Hessville. So we're paying attention. And you got some local boys that do a great job as police officers, and they're going to do a great job trying to protect our city even more than they've been doing. So again, congratulations to the new team at the Hammond Police Department. All right, let's jump in. Does anybody have any questions about that, by the way? We're still flushing through the details. I'd like to point out there's going to be a more formal announcement, but I'm willing to answer to a certain extent.
Do they have the right to search your car for 5 miles over the speed limit?
No, they would have to have, now this is lawyer, and we have lawyer Chris and lawyer Tom that can answer this question, and lawyer Chris over here also, I apologize. Am I missing any lawyers here? Sorry, we got a lot of lawyers working for the city. No, they would have to have a reason. Typically, as I did a little defense work before I came in, typically when officers get into the car, they're given permission. True? Okay. Typically, they're given permission, you know? If they come up and say, ma'am, you mind if I take a look through your car? And you say yes, they got a legal right to be there. If you say no, that's not in itself probable cause. That's what they taught us in law school, but I imagine it looks sort of fishy, being honest with you. But no, they don't have a right to go in your car for driving 5 miles an hour over a speed limit. However, if they see some evidence of illegality, like you have an open beer can in there or something like that, right, or evidence of drug use, you have a legal right to be there, right? Okay. Chris, did I mess up? All right, I still remember something from law school, so, okay, thank you. Any other questions on this? Thanks, Mr. Tompkins. I know you have to go to work. Thanks for coming out. Again, Mr. Tompkins and family. Thank you. All right, thanks, guys. All right, let's go ahead and continue on. Oh,
a question.
Doctor.
There are a number of properties between 165th and 170 various numbers across the city that as properties are being leveled that have been abandoned, there starts to be evidence that here's a piece, here's a piece, here's a piece. And I know that planning has a lot of things on their plate, but are we in a position to start to move some of those to where pick up another property and you have a piece that you can market?
I think that's a great idea. And, you know, I always try to push this as well, but you have to have cooperation from the neighbor that's affected. But, for instance, the idea behind this, Dr. Jones, is my next-door neighbor's home gets demolished. I could, as the next-door neighbor, buy that property, fence it in, and I would have a big yard next to me, right?
Right. One other question. The area around the old Sturks Plaza there would be a great location for, you said something about it some time ago, for an Ivy Tech campus.
Yeah.
I know that they're consolidating, but what's the chances of putting that bee in their hat again?
I'm glad you asked that. I don't know about that particular location, but we've been in discussion with Ivy Tech. Phil, do you want to just touch on this a little bit? I know our original plan didn't work out the way we anticipated. Speaking of Hessville, another Hessville boy over here. He lives in another part of the city now, but he grew up in Hessville.
Correct.
So Phil Taylor.
Thank you.
Of Kansas.
Kansas, yes. My father
Not
is still
Kansas,
there.
the state, Kansas Street. So.
Go Jayhawks. We were in communication with Ivy Tech for quite a while, probably about a year. Because just like you, Dr. Jones, we were very interested in having Ivy Tech expand into Hammond. And we were really having positive conversations, and we felt like we were getting somewhere Unfortunately, that was right around the time that Ivy Tech came out and said that they were having money issues, and they had to pull back on some of their future projects. So at that time, unfortunately, talks had stopped. We are still very interested in seeing Ivy Tech come to Hammond. We believe they'll be very successful if and when they do open a campus of any kind, and we're still pursuing that. But it's going to have to come from Ivy Tech, and hopefully once they get their budget in order, they're ready to expand, they'll give us a call, and we're ready to talk to them again.
And I agree, Doctor, that part of the city could definitely use a big investment. That whole area where BP currently uses as a training facility is completely underutilized. That whole, and when you think about it, and I'm not trying to shock June or anybody from the water department, going all the way up to Columbia and 165th, underutilized. That whole piece of property is so valuable. If we got rid of that water tower and we started thinking big, you could create a big development with that intersection, and we would be able to relocate the Hammond Water Department to another part of the city that we're trying to improve as well. So we've talked about this. It requires money, but that whole area, Doctor, could definitely use the sprucing up. I agree. So thank you for the question. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the written questions, Michelle.
Will the new Wolf Lake Boardwalk be part of the midnight bike ride?
Great question. And I'm going to go over to Milo Krasinski, the Hammond Port Authority, right after this. But for the person that asked that question, it's a great question. We just cut the ribbon on one of the most unique bike trail additions. I'm not going to say in Hammond because it is in Hammond. I'm talking about in Indiana. We have people that know their stuff about cycling that are really proud of what we're doing in Hammond. It's a bike trail that we, with the cooperation of NIPSCO, I don't say that very often as your mayor, okay? But NIPSCO gave us permission to put a bike trail underneath our high tension line. So picture you're on the toll road going towards the Skyway and you're going through Wolf Lake, how you have the high tension lines. They have a peninsula below it. We put a bike trail on that peninsula. Brought it all the way up to the channel that separates the Ileana Yacht Club, which is part of Hammond, from the peninsula. 1,200-foot gap. We got, with the cooperation of the Regional Development Authority, we bridged that 1,200-foot gap. It was a grant given to the city of Hammond with a bike trail bridge, and it's amazing. It is going to be part of the Midnight Ride. I want you to know that because I want to show it off. It's amazing what we've done over there. That whole area, if you're a cyclist, I suggest you go over to 129th Street, turn left, which people don't do very often anymore when you're going north on 129th. Turn west towards the toll road. Got a brand new parking lot back there. You can put your bike there. The whole loop around Wolf Lake is 6 miles. So even if you just went across the bridge and back, it's only a couple miles. It's worth it. So we are going to make that part of our midnight bike ride, but we're also trying not to make the midnight bike ride much more than 31 miles, which was last year, and there was people that were not making it very well towards the end. So we're trying to think about, being safe, but also being able to show off all the new bike trail additions. So thank you for that question. Is there any other follow-ups on that? Okay, we got right here.
Same topic.
Sure.
Bridges that they're building across 165th.
Yes, sir.
And then Columbia Avenue.
165th and Lyman, that's one of them, and then we
Right,
have
and
another
then-
one going over Columbia and 167th.
Right. I've had several people ask me, where does the money come from to build those bridges?
Well, that's a TIF district that helped pay for that.
Is what?
TIF, that's used, ultimately, it's going to be gaming or the businesses within that area that'll pay it back over time. But, I have to tell you that, first off, I have a lot of people that are proud for what we're doing to connect up our bike trail system, and I'm not going to deny that there's people out there that think that we shouldn't be doing this. Okay, and I don't know which camp you fall into, and I don't care. I mean, one way or another, sir, as long as you...
I think it's fine.
I appreciate it.
Other people had asked me, because I've lived
Right.
in Hammond my whole life, where's that money coming from?
Right.
I said, well,
In that case, it was
maybe
TIF.
the mayor's writing a check. I don't know.
No, no, I can't do that. Those bridges cost over $1 million each, okay? Their lifespan's going to be over 50 years. So your grandkids and their kids will be using that bike trail bridge. And that's a real positive. And I'm a cyclist, okay? And I believe in a bike trail for a community. And I want to tell you, as a cyclist, our bike trail is great, except for it's so dangerous. With the crossings, that crossing right there is very dangerous because it's 2 back-to-back major roads, and we're going to be able to fly over 2 intersections there. And then when you turn towards Maywood, there's going to be another bridge. It's a tunnel, actually, that we're building over there. Our bike trail is going to be amazing once it's done. I look at this like it's a park project. I sort of think about it in my own mind, like when we did, Hessville Little League, and it cost a lot of money, and I got criticized for that as well, for sure. But nobody would deny now that it's been completed that it's an asset for Hessville, you know. So I'm used to criticism, and that's fine. That's what mayors, we get criticized. Not everybody's going to agree with everything we do, but I want you to know that we're doing it because we believe it's good for the quality of life, and I think that's important as well. That's where we're coming from. And I appreciate the question, and I'm not offended in any way. I want you to know that.
No, I think it's great.
Thank you.
You know, I don't have a problem.
But there's some people for sure that don't. Yeah. So in fact, I'll take a really pretty picture of the bridge and I'll put it on my Facebook, and then like the first 5 comments are, you know, oh, why are you wasting money on this when you could be fixing potholes? It's like, oh, you know, and they're right. The potholes are bad, but you know. So anyway, I appreciate that. In the back. We're working on that right now. It's even bigger than the City of Hammond, sir. It's through an organization I sit in called NERPC. It's the Regional Council of Governments. They have a bike committee there that puts out regional trail maps, including connections to Chicago, which is important as well because they got some amazing bike paths there also.
There's a phone number I can call, and maybe you can
Mylan,
mail.
do we have some, Mark?
We have maps in our office.
We do?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what we need to do? Jamie, could you maybe get that on Go Hammond? We should actually have the bike trail maps. We have copies of them. They come through NERPC and they're updated. Just put it on Go Hammond.
Actually, the MIS Becky McKinley, he has all that drawn up.
Great. Sir, we're going to, first off, you could get a written copy from us. If you, in fact, why don't you write his address down and we'll send him a copy? Michelle? He has his address there, right? Yeah. And then I'm going to follow up your question and make sure it gets on the internet so we can put it out as well.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir. So, all right. Any other questions about the bike trail? Ms. King?
Once it's totally complete, there will be some barriers, a railing.
Yes. The one, yes, on both of them, right.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go even further. So picture 167th Columbia. We're building the 2-span bridge right now. It's going to come down. Oh, look at this. We got your bike trail map right here, sir. So, oh, there are? Nice. I should take a look at that table every once in a while. We have them on this table over here, sir. Right here. Yes, sir. Okay, so you go over the 2 spans over there, Ms. King, and then you turn towards Maywood School. We wanted to build a tunnel there, but we want to be safe as well because we don't want kids to be out of view. So it was a hard thing to do, and we engineered it so that it'll be a tunnel, but we'll be able to see through the tunnel the whole time. What we're really doing is taking 165th and going over the top of it so that the kids could go to and from school on their bikes, although not any kids from south of 165th go to Maywood, but theoretically they could ride their bikes, or kids that go to Hass or go to other parts of the city on their bike could go across these dangerous intersections without the danger. So, thank you. But yes, there will be rails, for sure. Okay, let's go to the next question.
What can be
Oh,
done?
hold on. Mylan, I didn't want to interrupt. Since we're talking about, we started off talking about bike trails and the Port Authority. Why don't you go ahead? I know the golf course is open now.
It is. The golf course is open. We have spring rates. Those will be in effect for at least a couple more weeks. It is really spring. We're not kidding. The next week's going to be a tough week, though. I understand it's going to be wet and in the 40s, maybe.
No kidding.
Yeah. How about that? We also have a lot of other things going on, Mayor. Wolf Lake has a full calendar with fishing tournaments. This weekend, the Wolf Lake Conservation Project cleanup with the Scouts and Art Peschke and the Park Department. They're out. They're going to be cleaning up around Wolf Lake. And golf course has high school matches and some outings coming up. And at the marina this weekend, we're launching the boats. So all the boats that were up on shore, on land, will be launched this weekend in the lake and bobbing around.
That's a sure sign of spring.
That is,
Right.
yes, definitely.
Okay,
So, you know what? We want everybody to come out and have a good staycation.
He's back. Thank you, Mylan. Mylan's going to have a long career when he's done working for the city of Hammond, just saying that. So, thanks, Mylan. All right.
Okay, what can be done about bottles of beer in the alleys and parking lot of Flick's Tap on Kennedy? It seems they do not clean on a daily basis.
Flick's Tap on Kennedy, Jim, since you're covering code enforcement today. Got a littering problem, it sounds like.
Pat said he'll be there tomorrow. Can you give me a little better description on where this is?
Kennedy and Janet Place. Jim's trying to act like he doesn't know where Flick's Tap is. Like, let's play the game. So.
Oh, Pat's draw me a map. What 100 block of Kennedy was it? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we will go out there. We will be out there tomorrow.
Okay. We have normally we have Jim, who's the boss of the inspections department, and then Kurt, who's the building inspector. Where's Kurt? He's under something. All right there. And then we have Kelly Kearney, who's head of code enforcement. Kelly's on vacation today, so Jim's covering code enforcement right now, but I'm sure he will get in contact with the inspector of that district. So, all right, yes, ma'am.
Since we're talking about debris, since all the snow is melting and everything that was pushed up into the snow is all, all the debris and everything is all laying all over the place, blowing all over the place. If it's the area behind or to the side, which is NIPSCO and railroad property, beside Deluxe Liquors, it's literally.
We have all these liquor references today.
I'm telling you, what can I say?
You don't drink,
You're
you don't
the
know
one
your
who
way.
let them go in there. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just teasing. But I was going to think of talking to the Judge Hartman that handles the civic duty to clean it. I mean, because it's the railroad, the NIPSCO, when they do decide to mow that stuff, they just send out the plow and all styrofoam cups, plastic beer bottle or plastic liquor bottle everywhere.
Okay.
And I usually go by with a bag in my hand every time I go home, and I'm gathering up a bag of junk before I get. But it don't make no difference
I
because it
agree.
always ends up in my yard.
Okay.
Is there anything that can be done, even since it is railroad, or since it is NIPSCO property?
Yeah, I mean, we have contacts with NIPSCO. We just need to communicate so that.
Because it's not all, you can see it coming right from Deluxe,
Mhm.
because they go in there, they buy their liquor, have it, and to the side.
Okay.
Please.
No problem. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next question, Michelle.
This just states rail extension.
Oh, South Shore? I think the council and my administration did the best we could with the circumstances we were faced. The question is, do we want to support a rail extension that goes from Hammond to Dyer? Eventually it'll go to Lowell, and eventually it's going to go to Valparaiso. The path they're talking about right now is going to go to Dyer. The path, we don't know. Where the stations will be, we don't know. The total cost, we don't know. Quite frankly, the only thing that we do know is how much they want from us, which is $27 million over the next 30 years. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I couldn't write it all down.
It's okay.
Okay, we
The
had
South Shore extension was
wait a
enough.
minute. It started out with a property tax cap, correct? Wait
Yeah.
a minute. Okay, it capped our property tax, and then all the little towns, even Hammond. What are we going to do? We have to have the income tax, Lake County tax. That went up to 1.5%.
Well, first off, let's be proper.
Okay.
It was the county council and the county commissioners
Okay.
that passed
It's
it.
not
But
you. It's
but
not you.
no. I was part of the support group. I'm not going to deny that.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why.
But
We
wait a
didn't-
minute.
Hold
Now-
on. No. I can't. You can't just say something that's not factually true. We had no choice. We had no choice. We were the only county in the state, and they were literally freezing our levies unless we passed that tax. There was no choice. So I'm not going to deny and hang my friends out to dry. I was part of the group pushing for it because we had no choice. And I mean, nobody wants to hear that, but if you want a guy that's going to come up here and lie to you, I'm not that guy. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to tell you we didn't have a choice. I didn't like doing it, and I know the county council and the county commissioners didn't like it either. So anyway, back to your question.
But everybody, was complaining they didn't have enough money with a tax cap. So
Mhm.
we got this Lake County tax now.
Mhm.
Okay, now we're giving up all this money for the rail. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like they did this on purpose to feed the rail.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And I
and
lost
even
a
worse,
week's
one
and a half
thing.
salary now because of this cap.
One thing you didn't cover, which is a rotten deal we got in Hammond, was Senate Bill 367, which there was a loophole that was created in 2001. Should have been fought back then, quite frankly, wasn't. They took money from Hammond, Gary, East Chicago, and Lake County. It was about $6 million, and they gave it as a tax credit to seniors. Who could argue with that, right? Everybody wants to give tax credit. We give tax credits to seniors, but it wasn't fair that you could be a senior living in Crown Point using Hammond money to get your rebate. That's not fair. So only four governments were paying for a tax credit that was available to everybody. When they figured out that there was a loophole where, I always use Dean White as an example. Dean White under certain circumstances, a billionaire could get this credit. Bobby, am I correct here? Dean White, a billionaire, could get a credit of a few $100s, which made no sense. So they fixed that loophole this year, and quite frankly, freed up $8 million all day. I think it was $4 million all day. I'm sorry, 2 for county government, 2 for the 3 communities mixed. $4 million was freed up. So the question is, what happens to this money? Of course, your mayor is going to say that money belongs to us. That's where it came from. That's where it should go back to. If you free up money, it should come back to us. Well, the downstate Republicans, and I'm not going to get, I know there's Republicans in the room, and I'm not going to get political as your mayor right now. The downstate supermajority, how about we just call it that, didn't feel the same way as we did. They felt that, let's take that money and give it to Congressman Viscoski's extension. They did, over strenuous suggestions from us. $600,000 a year for 30 years. That's 6, 12, $18 million that they took from us, and we're never going to get it back. So I look at it, we're already in for $18 million. Now the congressman wants us to put in $900,000 a year for 30 more years. So I get asked questions from Hammond residents. Mayor, where are the stations going to be? I don't know. Well, is there going to be freight on the line? How many complaints about freight have we already had in Mayor's Night today, right? Anybody want another freight line going north and south through our city? Heck no. Would we like to use our own money to cut our own throat? Is there going to be freight? Can't answer that question. Where are the stations going to be? Don't know. Are there going to be stations? I have no clue. How much do they want from us? Oh, they want $27 million. There's no way we could give your money away without even being able to provide you with just basic answers. They don't even know the path it's going to take. So the council and I got together, came up with a resolution that I thought was perfect. There's a study that needs to be done, has to be done. Before any money from the federal government will come to us, has to be done. The study's going to cost $3 million, take close to 2 years to complete. We donated $250,000 one time to that study. Once that study comes back and we know more answers, we're going to have a debate in our city. It's not going to happen until 2016. So we have some time, but they're going to come, and they're going to want a lot of money from us. And if we're going to put $27 million into a project, there better be something amazing for our city. That's the way I look at it. Because I'm afraid that this is going to hurt. Why would we use our own money to hurt our city? And we've all decided to stick it out and fight for the city, and I appreciate it, and I know everybody up here appreciates it, but they're literally taking our money and threatening the existence of our city. It makes no sense. Somebody's got to stand up, and I appreciate the council for giving me the courage I need to be able to say, Congressman Pete, we can't do this right now. We don't want to disrespect you because you could help our city a lot, so why don't we do this? Let's make a partnership. We'll give you money, we'll get this study done, and when we can give more answers to our residents, we'll do so. I know I have some council people here. I don't know if you want to say something, Councilwoman, Councilman, anybody? Councilman Higgs?
But the reality of it is that we really don't know what is going to happen. And so my quest and my plight in regards to this particular issue was to just hold off. Congressman Viscoski came before the council and gave a presentation, but we still don't have a definite plan as to how it will affect Hammond. And agree with the mayor on this particular issue is that we don't really know what's going to happen. So why throw money in a project that you don't know what's going to happen? That's just like buying a car and say you want a Cadillac, but instead you're going to get a Camaro. So that's the reality of it is. But again, he's the congressman and he has access to federal dollars that can help the region. There are other cities that have dedicated money to this project already, committed money. But, you know, what do? Do you stand still and say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this, when the other cities are saying, we have the money and we're going to give it to you? Gary gave $789,000. You know, there are other communities, monsters, but it's different amounts. That's the problem I have. It's nothing standard. It's different amounts throughout the region. Why is that? If it's a project, tell us how much it costs, what it's going to do, and then let the cities decide how much they're going to give.
Thank you, Councilman Higgs. Anybody else? I want to see any of the council. Council Mike?
Councilman Opinker.
You know, folks, a big thing when Congressman Visklowski was in, the big question that came up, there was going to be 3 depots in this project. Obviously, Munster's getting one. The end of it's going to be Dyer. He couldn't give us an answer if Hammond was going to get one or not. If we're going to give $27 million and we're not going to get a stop, it's wasted money. How I look at it, all these people, a majority of them that use East Chicago and a majority of them that use the Hammond stop come from the south, whether it's Munster, Dyer, whatever. If this comes in and there's no depot in Hammond, all them sites are going to be vacant, East Chicago and Hammond. These people are going to, it's going to be a flyover rail system where they're just going to fly by Hammond. We'll never get any business out of them or anything. It's going to be a big waste of money as far as I'm concerned. And that's what I feel. Unless we could get some evident answers about what's going to happen, I'm totally against this project.
Thanks, Councilman Mike. Councilwoman? Sure. This Councilwoman Venez, then we'll go to Ms. King, if you don't mind.
Thank you. It needs $250,000 to the study period. When the results of the study come in, we will be able to answer everyone's questions, including our own. We don't know the answers to the questions. This could conceivably be a tremendous project for Hammond, depending on what the results of the study are. On the other hand, it could be a boondoggle and just fly right by us, and we would be contributing over the life of this project $27 million. There were some council people who chose to vote against this particular resolution. I feel that we need to give Hammond the opportunity to grow. We need to give Hammond the opportunity to get answers to our questions. And that's why I voted to support this. Thank you.
Support the $250,000. Right.
The 250, not the project.
Right, thank you. Okay. Looks like the topic is South Shore. Ms. King?
You had, excuse me, you had mentioned that you were looking for something amazing. What would that something be?
Thank you.
And secondly, in terms of the study, will we, the citizens of Hammond, have any input in this study? Will we have an opportunity to engage them in terms of what we think we should get from this?
With me, if they don't build a junction depot that holds both lines in the city of Hammond, Hammond will not benefit at all. In fact, it'll be harmed. Because if they decide not to, and that would be an expensive proposition for them, make no mistake about it, but we would literally take the oldest part of our city and be investing $40 million, your neighborhood. It'd be literally south of Gosselin along the state line, which is where it would have to be. If they decided to join those two lines together in Hammond, it would be a huge investment, but for them it'd be a huge cost. And I can tell you, I was on this train, so to speak, in 2007, and I realized what their plan called for was not to join these two lines together, was to use Indiana money to rebuild the infrastructure in Illinois because it's way cheaper. So we would be using Hammond money to fix bridges and rail lines in Illinois and basically shoot the line in, maybe in North Munster, maybe in South Hammond, but basically bypassing the city of Hammond. If they, and quite frankly, I don't trust anybody in this regards. They could totally do that again. And if they did, Ms. King, we would be using our own money to fix bridges and rail lines in Illinois. That doesn't make sense. I don't care who's asking what. We're literally using our own money to make our destiny even harder. So if I could tell you, if they don't think that joining the two lines together in Hammond is important, I'm not a supporter of it. If they do, it's going to be expensive because they have to get through Hammond and improve everything along the way. So it would be a black and white test with me, Ms. King. If that wasn't part of it, I'm out. If it would be harder. And great question. I'm not sure the answer to that. Great question. Okay. It would be. I imagine they're going to talk to the community during the study.
They may not even talk to me, Ms. King. I don't know. But I will let you know more as it comes along. Okay. South Shore, anybody got a question on it? Yes, sir.
Didn't we just say that we already supported this as they took the $18 million?
I love that answer. I say it all the time, but nobody listens. You guys would listen, but part of the problem of when you have the media, in this case the Times, all in, using poker terminology. They are all in. They want the project, and they will hurt people like the council and the mayor. If you're standing up, if you have the audacity to say, I don't support this project, they will crush you.
But they took the money, so we
I totally
supported
agree
it.
with you, sir. Totally agree. We're already in for $18 million. I honestly feel that way, right?
Yeah.
But they don't. And they're the ones that set the agenda here, and if they refuse to even discuss that, which they do, that they refuse to discuss it. So I'm preaching to the choir right now. But they won't cover this. I think it's wrong they took our money. They took our money.
Yeah,
They're not going to print
money,
that.
They need to cover it.
Right. They took $18 million of your money, sir. But the Times is not going to say that. They're not going to print that. And it's not going to get out because they refuse to acknowledge that fact, which is a fact. So we're in already. And it's rotten how they did it. It's rotten.
It is.
It is.
I agree.
Yeah. And Lake County got hurt even more than us. $2 million a year for 30 years. That's a lot of money. That's Lake County. Lake County, you think Hammond got messed up on that. Lake County got it way worse than we did. That's 20, 40, $60 million over 30 years. They do. No, they do. They do. Any other questions on the South Shore? Okay, thank you for bringing that up. It's an important topic. I promise you, we did everything we could, and I think nobody's really talking about it anymore, which is nice. I mean, from the press, I think we sort of satisfied everybody for a couple years until we know more answers so that we can answer the great questions you guys bring up. Same questions we have. It's ridiculous. I think it was Phil Talon that said this. I thought it was funny. Head of economic development, head of planning development. Africa is the head of economic development. But Phil said one day, Mayor, could you imagine if we went to the council and we said, Council, we have this great project. We need $27 million from you. You're going to love it. And the council would say, okay, tell me about it. Can't tell you about it. Well, where's it going to be? Can't tell you that either. How many people is it going to employ? Have no idea. But you're going to love it. But all we need is $27 million. You'd say, get the heck out of here, right? What, you can't give me any of the basic facts and you want $27 million? We're the ones that are acting appropriately. That's the frustrating thing. Everybody else is signing on. They're crazy as far as I'm concerned. They're giving away 30 years worth of revenue and they can't answer the most basic questions about it. Hammond elected officials are the ones that are doing the right thing here, and we're being demonized in the media.
In fact, Mayor, they've already committed money. I'm like, really, in regards to this particular development, but I'm like, why are you committing when you don't even know what it's going to be?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Thanks, Councilman. Okay. Questions about South Shore? Well, a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not going to name, a lot of people I don't like crossing swords with the congressman that's been in office for 30 years. I don't enjoy that. Well, you start to get irrational. If we fight the congressman on this, is he going to not work as hard to get us money so we can fix our streets? It's a legitimate fear. Because he could. This is true. You're right. No, I know, but you don't want, believe me, Mark talked about Kennedy Avenue project that we're doing. 20% our money, 80% federal government money. Congressman Pete helped us get that project done. If he's mad at us, will we feel repercussions down the road? By the way, I got threatened last week by a state rep in NERPC. It was about, what was the issue? What's that? Klein Avenue. Another one I'm a stick in the mud on, right? I say, I voted against it. It was purely symbolic move. Didn't even matter if we voted for it or against it. We were just sort of doing it, right? And I said, I'm taking a stand. I think it's wrong what they did to us. I think we should all stand up and fight. And the state rep said, Mayor McDermott, if you vote against this, you better watch out because they're keeping score. And he said it on the record in an open meeting. I said, are you warning me? Are you threatening me? He said, I'm not threatening you. That's just the way it is, Mayor. That's the attitude we got. You dare stick up for your community, I will crush you. I deal with it January, February, March, and April of every single year when I go down to the State House. They have super majorities down there. We are literally 1/3. We have no chance to stop them, and they don't care about you. They don't care about you or you or you. They don't care about us because we're Democrats from the region. And if you don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you. I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it's bad. We need to change downstate. We need to change downstate, or we're never going to get a fair shake from these people. And that state rep messed up because he said what he says all the time, but he did it with a microphone in front of his head. And they printed it. The Times did. It was a clear warning to me. Don't vote against that Klein Avenue Bridge, even though it completely screws all of us that they didn't rebuild it. And they're going to make the tolls $3.50 each way. So if you drive to the steel mill every day and use that bridge, it's going to be $7 a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, thousands of dollars out of your pocket. They should have built it for free. They don't want to hear me say that stuff. They treat you different than they treat Carmel, Indiana, for a fact. I don't think he really had much of a choice, but he did. He's part of it, but what would, anyway, sorry.
The self-appointed ex officio mayor of Northwest Indiana, Representative Soliday, is
You said it, not me, doctor.
yes, is representing the same sort of attitude that reconstructed downtown Indianapolis at the expense of every other taxpayer in Indiana. Aliord, the fire station, the museums, all of that, we all paid for. When we want a nickel back, they spit on us.
They do. It's bad. This year, because this year they were aiming at Hammond. This year in the State House, they were aiming at us. Senate Bill 367 was aimed at us. The horrible rental registration law that crippled our rental registration program, that was aimed at Hammond, Indiana. These guys don't like me as your mayor. They don't really care about you either.
How can we change this?
You got to vote them out. You got to vote them out. So, all the state reps are up for election right now, and quite frankly, most of our state reps are doing the right thing in our neck of the woods. They're all good people, in my opinion. Okay, it's further south where we're running into problems. So, I didn't try to get political, and I'm not trying to get political. This is a fact. What's going on downstate, and it's a threat to us as Hammond residents. So, thank you. Then, we're going to lose. They passed a law. Councilman Higgs asked a question about the rental registration law that was passed. They passed a law that makes the rental registration program that we use to find cut-up apartments in homes that are meant for single family. They made it basically illegal for us to charge a fee, which is great for people that own lots of properties because they have to pay per unit. So if you have 10 units and $80 a unit, that's $800 a year. These downstate supermajority, I'm not going to call them Republicans anymore, the downstate supermajority didn't feel that was fair, that we should only charge $5 a unit, which could pay for one inspector in January, and we would run out. One inspector across the city for January. So what they really did was, we're not going to downsize code enforcement, we're not going to downsize inspections because it's a vital service. So what's going to happen, that cost that used to be borne by the landlords will be shifted to the taxpayers. Not because you're mayor, because of the supermajorities downstate. Because we can't get rid of that program. That program saves lives and helps us out when we have a cancer in our community. So instead, what they did was shift the cost to you, which is very typical of how things are being run lately.
And
I hope the press is listening through Go Hammond TV. I really hope they print these words, but they won't because it's wrong what's going on right now in Indiana.
So, Mayor, what's the rental registration fee now?
$5, Councilman Higgs. $5, which won't fund anything. We're working on Plan B as we speak, okay, Councilman? But it's a joke. That was another one that was aimed at Hammond, Indiana. So, sorry about that. I didn't mean to get frustrated on you, but I am very, it's very frustrating. You know what? I want to say something as your mayor. I appreciate you guys being Hammond residents and working hard to help us make our city great. Because, we have a lot of work to do. We all know that. I think this is a great city, and I think we're doing great things. And we're not getting much help from downstate. And quite frankly, Congressman's doing everything he can to help us in a lot of regards, but that's why I think we need to be vigilant. And that's why I appreciate what the council is doing, because if we strongly feel it's not good for Hammond's future, we shouldn't do it. Do it on your own, guys. If you're gonna mess our city up, mess it up with your own money. Don't mess it up with our money. Thank you. So anyway, let's go on to the next question. I'm getting all frustrated now. Sure.
Okay, I just want to know, the Gene Shepherd, I go there all the time, and I like what's going on there.
Thank you.
What are they doing on the other side, the north side of Perry
Great
Avenue?
question. Pat, could you grab a microphone, please?
A park.
Pat is also a member of the Department of Public Works and Safety. Pat is in an individual unit responsible for the park themselves. So in this case, talking about the Dowling Park expansion, Pat, with the Purdue Cal expansion, could you talk a little bit about that?
You're talking about on the other side of Parrish, where they're building over there? That's going to be the add-on to the drainage ditch. That's to drain the water, help drain the water out of the park.
Yeah, we need that. Oh, okay, you're talking about along the sound wall, Pat? That, we need to do that so that we don't flood your houses out with all the work that we're doing for the Purdue Cal expansion. You have to have land set aside just in case of extreme situations. We can put the water there so it doesn't end up in your basement. Ma'am?
Are we alleviating that little lake down there by this Purdue expansion? I mean, where's the parking going to be? I drove down there. There's nowhere to park. When
Pat, we're going to gain
come for a
parking.
game, are you going to bus them all in?
No. Pat? Yeah.
We're actually going to.
Nothing. Want to
Okay,
kill
hold
you,
on a
I'm
minute.
telling you.
Hang on a minute. We're going to gain parking. When it's all said and done, there's going to be more parking added onto there. That ditch, the river, lake, whatever you want to call it, is not going anywhere. It's just going to be if there's more water coming out of that park, fills that ditch up, then it's going to go across the parish. Outside of that, nothing's going to change. We're
Bob,
actually going to gain parking.
How much parking is going to be increased, Bob? Bob's been working with us on the project.
It's going to be increased by about 40% more than what's currently around the Gene Shepherd Center behind and in the park now.
Mm-hmm. So it's big enough. Purdue Cal's men and women's soccer is going to be played out of there, men's baseball, women's softball, and tennis. Available, by the way, when Purdue Cal gets first priority on these fields, obviously we're working in conjunction with Purdue Cal for this expansion, but when Purdue Cal is not using the tennis courts, for instance, they're going to be open for Hammond residents, and they're going to be top of the line college facility. Same goes with the soccer field, same goes with the baseball and the softball. Same philosophy we used when we did the Morton High football and soccer field. That is technically a park. That's how we justified it at the time. Obviously, Morton governors get first priority every time they need it, but if Morton's not using it, we are able as a city to say we want a flag football league out here. And as long as it didn't conflict with Morton, we could do it. And that was part of the agreement we made. The Vipers shelter? What is going on with that, Pat? Do you know? It is Stan? Yeah. I know we're talking about down the road improving that over there too, right? And the sled hill is going to end up on that side of the park as well, right?
It's already up.
That's already there? No, I'm sorry. I haven't been there in a couple weeks. Okay, so the sled hill. Good news, if it snows again, we got options. So, sorry. Okay. All right, let's go to the next question.
Asked Public Works for crosswalks last year in October. Any plans for them on 173rd Street, Nebraska Avenue?
Yes, I will refer that back to the traffic department. Then we'll go back to traffic.
Jimmy, when we do stuff like that, you have to do traffic studies and things of that nature?
Exactly.
Okay, so you take the complaint down and we'll take a look at it again? We have to do traffic counts and time of the day and stuff like that. Okay. 73rd in Nebraska.
173rd Street, Nebraska Avenue.
Okay. Next question.
Can we use the baseball field by the City Hall for T-ball ages 4 to 7 for May, June, July 2014?
Well, that's we schedule that through the Civic Center. So whoever's asking that, they have a master schedule in the Civic Center. And on that field over there, the primary user of that field is Hammond High girls softball. And when they're not using it, it's competitive after that. I know that besides my team, which uses that field also, being honest, another team that uses it on Sundays is the Baptist League. They come out every Sunday and use that as well. That's a very competitive field. So,
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
That's Ms. Blackman, I'm sure, is calling for that. It's that little field behind City Hall at MLK Park. Between City Hall
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the girls softball field.
I actually approved that permit today.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Blackman. I thought it was. Good. So it's all straightened out then, Pat?
Yes, I
So you're talking about literally just to the east of City Hall in MLK Park.
Right off the parking lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, that field there.
Can I say something for clarity? I just need, and I'm glad it happened. What happened, and I'm not going to tell any names, but we tried to work with Maywood Little League about 2 years ago, start the T-ball, but to no avail.
Right.
And so, I mean, me and the people that run it, we're retired phys ed teachers, so we know how to run the program. So I think they were afraid because it was kind of deep, and it wasn't deep. You just have to do your legwork. We've already worked, of course, with the Youth Civic Center. We work with redevelopment about the insurance situation, and I have a meeting with them March 8th to make sure everything is okay.
Great.
But I'm glad it happened, and what was I going to say? And hopefully it works out fine. But we tried, but to no avail, so we just started our own. And we're grown. I think we can handle it.
Ms. Blackman, I had a meeting last week before Easter break. I had met with Leroy Harwell of Maywood, and we had a really good meeting. I don't know how organized it is at this point, which is, we're late already, as I'm sure you realize. But I think that he has some good ideas about moving forward with Maywood Little League.
I don't mind being a part of it, but I don't want to be jammed in. We don't want to use that field. We want to be out by the city hall.
Good for you.
Fine.
I think that's a great field.
Wonderful.
Thanks. My pleasure. Okay, any other questions?
When is the potash company hiring for employment?
Phil Talon or Africa, whoever wants to answer.
As many people know, potash was stalled for a little bit, delayed, if you will. When they started digging, they found some things in the ground that they were not expecting. And so Mayor and I actually met with the senior vice president from Potash about 2 months ago. They are using the property. They have about 1,000 rail cars that go through that property already. It's been a very efficient project for them. Potash has been very successful. The man we spoke with, the senior VP, let us know that they would start construction probably somewhere around May, June of this year. So they still are on track to begin the regional distribution center. As far as when hiring will take place, this is a 12 to 18 month construction project. The building itself is the size of 2 football fields. So it's going to take a while before it's fully constructed and before they'll be ready to hire. But the good news is, according to the potash representative, it will begin this year. So once that starts, the 12 to 18 month clock will start.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, Phil, that was me asked the question, because I'm looking for it. But can you go on their website and apply? Because when I go on the website, it's like different.
At this point, I don't think it's really jobs. It's going to be mostly construction at this point. Once it's up and running,
Okay.
that might get into the next stop I was going to make on this tour was Africa. Could you pass the microphone to Africa, and she could talk a little bit about some upcoming events we have, and I think this might explain how you could get in touch with Potash.
We recently had the 11th annual City of Hammond Job Fair, and there were over 700 people that attended, over 73 companies confirmed, so we had a really good turnout. We thought that parking would be a bit of an issue, but we worked around that, so it was a very successful event. Potash did not show up. However, I can try to get their contact information and get that out to you.
But, I mean, that sort of makes sense that they weren't there, because there's nothing really...
Right, it's too early. It's probably
Right.
too early in the
I
process.
mean, at this point, it's going to be mostly construction. Phil, is that accurate? Yeah, it's going to be mostly the specialty workers coming in. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Africa.
That's okay. So it was a very successful event. But if you want to talk afterwards, then I can talk to you afterwards.
Did you have another event?
And also, I wanted to announce the Hessville cleanup, the spring cleanup for the Hessville community, where all residents and businesses are invited to participate, sponsored by the Hessville Business Association as well as the City of Hammond. This event will be held Saturday, May 17th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can check in and receive your supplies at 6718 Kennedy Avenue, which is the Host Connection parking lot. And the cleanup area, will be Kennedy Avenue, 169th to Morton High School, 165th Street to Grand Avenue, 173rd Street, and as I stated, all residents and businesses are invited to participate. Food, which will entail snacks and drinks, will be available at 6725 Kennedy Avenue, which is the White Ripple Gallery Art Company.
Okay, thank you, Africa. I appreciate
You're
it.
That was a great job fair. I got it, because I went, and there
Nice.
was a lot of businesses there. So, and I have one more question.
Sure. Just go ahead and knock it off.
And it's for you, Mayor.
Sure.
Congratulations on your award. I seen it in the Hammond Times.
I didn't even know I got an award
And,
until I read the paper.
It was 4 mayors received the award. and
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's for, I think it's more for, thank you, one person. I'll be honest with you, I was totally shocked when I got it. It was, I think it's mostly because I've been around for a long time. I'm one of the few 3-term mayors in the state, so
when they have those trainings, I sort of, it's a great honor. IACT is a great organization. They help cities and towns. They were helping us when we needed their help in the State House. They get ignored like we do. So, but it was nice to be recognized like that by IACT. So thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
The shootings in the 3rd District on Highland, Tapper, and Lion Streets, are there any plans to curb that type of violence?
Great. We sort of hit on this early on. Jeff or JD, you guys want to address this?
We did recently have some shootings, and it was related to 2 houses, one amongst the other. Some sort of feud going on. Our gang unit is actively working that. As always in the summer months, we're starting up our bike patrol, and they are primarily assigned to the Tapper area in East Hammond, MLK Park, surrounding areas, and they respond out of that area in accordance to need based on current crime stats. But we are starting there. That's where they will be effective immediately.
That's another advantage of having the bike trail bridges is when we do the bike patrol in the summer, you can get from Gavitt High School to downtown Hammond 10 minutes without stopping like that, which is great for the bike officers because it's dangerous for them just like it's dangerous for me or any of us that are using the trails. So anyway, thank you for addressing that. And I also think the protocol that you guys announced earlier is going to help in that regard as well. The more stops, the more contacts we have with the public, the more accidental discoveries of bad guys. So, all right, last question. Oh, is this the last question? I'm sorry.
When your property is damaged from these bullets flying everywhere, surely we have insurance, but are there any other avenues that we can go for? 'Cause this has
We had a
happened.
situation like that, unfortunately, in Hessville where crossfire hit a home and there was damage to the home.
Well, this is bad guy shooting, though. This isn't
Right.
a police officer shooting.
Right.
Obviously, if anybody is brought to justice, you can apply for compensation or reimbursement through the prosecutor's office. In fact, even the Hammond Police Department, one of our squad cars got hit by a drunk driver pulling out of a parking lot, and it was ordered in his plea agreement that he pay $803 restitution. So if you can find out who the baddies are, somebody will start talking, because I'm sure somebody knows. 20 people are standing around, nobody saw nothing. So if they find out who the baddies are, you can ask for restitution as part of the plea.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're actually saying you can go to the prosecutor's office?
Yeah, and they could make it part of the plea agreement. So if the bad guy was caught and they could prove that the bad guy's bullets hit home A, then homeowner A could make it part of the plea agreement that that bad guy makes with the state that he has to comply with terms and also restitution to homeowner A. And that could be part of the agreement. And seen it, and the good thing about these agreements when they're part of the plea, if they fail to make the payment to homeowner A in this case, they could go back to jail, right?
They have to catch the guy, though. They have to catch the person.
Well, yeah.
Right. Somebody has got to, somebody's got to turn them in. They've got to have a trial. They've got to plead or be found guilty. It's restitution. If they fail to pay their restitution, it's called a petition to revoke, and you go in front of the magistrate, and the magistrate can sentence you to the suspended portion of the sentence.
Which is a lot, usually.
Statutory limitation on that? Because this happens
Well, I mean,
twice.
obviously, I've seen restitution cases where they've ordered somebody to pay back $2 million, and they make $8 an hour working at Walmart. So the reality of it is it's probably not going to happen. But no, there's no limit.
Okay.
There's no limit. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Last question, Michelle?
This is just a comment that the Hessville Business Association has been restarted. Anyone interested is welcome to join.
When is the next meeting? Do you have that info?
They meet every second Wednesday of the month. May's meeting will be at the FOE
Fraternal Organization of Eagles.
on May 14th at 11:30 a.m.
I know Phil and Africa usually attend those meetings, so Hessville Business Association back in business, and that's good for business. So
I did just want to add something. I'm
Sure.
the vice president of the organization, and I just wanted to thank Phil Talon and his team, Africa Tarver and Ann Anderson. They have been extremely instrumental in helping us get this off the ground.
Thank you.
And just wonderful working with them. And we just expect more support, and just wanted to thank them.
thank you. Been a long Mayor's Night, everybody. Blackhawks are playing. I appreciate you guys coming out. I want to remind you, next Mayor's Night Out is Wednesday, May 28th, 5th District at Morton Elementary School. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out.